What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I am so excited about today's episode because last night, as we were just finishing up harvesting the rest of our potatoes, I thought to myself as I looked over this fresh, new, clean bed that was just turned over and softened and full of organic matter, ready for another planting of something, I thought to myself, what would happen if we took this entire stack of seeds, put them in a jar, and spread them throughout this bed, completely disregarding spacing. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time and something that I think would be very interesting to see what happens as a community. I know we get asked all the time, Luke, I think I spaced my stuff out way too close, or Luke, I think I spaced my stuff out way too far. And we talk all about spacing. It's something that as gardeners we dwell on, but I'm starting to wonder if spacing doesn't necessarily have to be something that we worry so much about. Now, granted, I think it's something we should worry about somewhat, but this is gonna serve as an example, as kind of a litmus test for what happens if we don't space anything at all. Now, obviously, we're expecting maybe some competition. Maybe we're expecting some poor germination. Maybe we're expecting smaller than average yields when it comes to the size of the vegetables. I don't know. That's what's gonna be so much fun about this, because one of the things that I constantly go back to is Mrs. MIgardener. Before we were married, when we were still dating, her parents had a compost pile that they never took care of. They basically just threw stuff back there, and it was just their way of getting rid of organic matter. And they had a garden space, but they never really worked that part of the garden space. They just kept throwing food scraps there as a way of just breaking things down and being more environmentally conscious. And so they just kept composting stuff. And every single year, what would happen is more volunteer plants would grow. And they would throw tomatoes there, cucumbers there, they'd throw, anything. It was just remarkable. Peppers, you name it, it went back there. And over the years, it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And the amount of volunteers just kept sprawling. But the thing I thought was so remarkable was that no matter what, they would have a bountiful harvest without doing anything at all. And this struck me as really incredible, because here we're always worrying about spacing. And I think spacing is important. It looks nice and it keeps things disease-free. It helps with airflow. But the thing is that they didn't do anything at all. They didn't care about spacing. Heck, they didn't even care about which plants grew where and if they outcompeted themselves. It was just a total free-for-all. And the thing was so amazing is we'd go out there with a bushel basket and we'd fill it up with tomatoes and cucumbers, and they'd even have cantaloupes out there. And the thing was just an absolute mess. But it was extremely productive nonetheless. And so that's what we're gonna do today. We're just gonna put this to the test and check out what happens. I think it'd also be really cool to let me know in the comments box below what you expect to happen. We have pretty much everything that we're expecting to grow in the fall. This is all fall packets. So there's no tomatoes or things like that in there. So we have lettuce, we have miner's lettuce, we have minitina, or Herbastella minitina. We have some Bloomsdale longstanding spinach, Tango lettuce, French breakfast radish, mammoth snow melting peas. So we're getting some rooting crops, some root crops. We're getting some vining peas, some leafing crops like basil, or lettuce and spinach. And then we have turnips, we have rutabaga, we have many different types of carrots, tons of different types of carrots, rainbow blend carrots, Danvers carrots, and we have larger things like some cabbage here. We have the pak choi white stem cabbage. We've got things like sorrel. We've got more miner's lettuce, more carrots, more radishes, and tons. I think the last time I counted, I think there's 25 packets of seeds in here. They're all gonna go into this jar here, and we're gonna basically spread 25 packets worth of seed into one single bed. This is gonna be so interesting. It's just because it's so much different than anything we do on this channel. You know, a lot of times we like to focus on information, we focus on inspiration, but I think so much of what a garden is, in terms just a vegetable garden, in terms of a hobby, is just curiosity. And I think that's what a lot of people like about a garden, is they're just curious, and that curiosity can run wild. I mean, it's like, what if I plant this plant? What if I try something new? This whole year, being the year of diversity, was dedicated to how many different varieties of vegetables can we grow in our garden space? How much can we pack in here so we can see really what's available to us? And so that was kind of another journey of curiosity. And I think it's just so cool that we're gonna see what happens when we put over 6,000 seeds into 48 square feet and completely disregard spacing. It's just gonna be a really fun concept. Now, I did go and I did prep the bed. I know you guys are gonna ask that. We always talk about this, and I always talk about how it is so important to have proper fertility. Fertility is paramount when you're growing vegetables because, especially when you're growing things in close proximity to one another, they already compete for space. They already compete for nutrients. So assuming we're completely disregarding spacing, the thing that I did to kind of help, at least help the odds be in my favor, was by amending the soil. So in this bed behind me last night, after I was done pulling up the potatoes, I put down a fresh layer of compost. That's why it's all nice and black and beautiful. But also, I took a fresh load of trifecta, put about 4 pounds of trifecta throughout this whole bed here. I took about 3 pounds of azomite, and then I took about 2 pounds of worm castings. I spread that out throughout the whole bed. That's our usual kind of remineralization regimen that we do after we harvest something and we get ready to plant something else. And I did that to basically ensure that there was gonna be enough nutrients for everything, because the last thing I wanted was for there to be not enough nutrients to support and host all the life that's going to be here. So I'm just gonna take the jar and kind of just shake it out. So whatever falls is where it falls. The peas didn't want to come out. I had to kind of help the peas out a little bit, but I was getting a lot of carrots, that's for sure. There we go. 6,000 seeds in a 48 square foot bed. So this here is the compost pile I was telling you guys about with all the volunteers. As you can see, we have tons of tomato plants. There's probably a good 10 to 15 tomato plants here. On the other side of the compost pile, on the finished side, we have another 10 or 15 plants there, plus a potato, a couple peppers, a cucumber, some type of vining squash pumpkin thingy. I don't know what it is because I didn't put the seeds there. They're just thrown there from years past. Whenever we throw stuff here, it just breaks down, seeds and all, and sometimes the seeds germinate. So there's tons of stuff growing over there, including even purslane, which we harvest from and enjoy on a regular basis. But as you can see, they're coexisting perfectly fine. No one is coming in here and thinning and spacing, and because of the high nutrient content of the compost pile, they're coexisting just fine. Now, long term, they might not be as healthy as ones that we stake up and give preferential treatment to and things like that, but to ignore that this is working is something that, as a gardener, I always say we have to be observant, we have to see what is working and kind of question why it's working and see if we can implement some of that in our gardens, so that we can actually learn and grow as gardeners to find better ways to grow more food in less space. And so this is kind of the inspiration behind that. So like I said, this is the inspiration behind what we did in the garden today. And it might seem a little outlandish, a little crazy, but like I said, what's gardening without a little bit of fun and a little bit of experimentation? So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you were inspired to try something new. Just go out on a limb and try something that might seem as crazy or outlandish in your garden and just see what happens. I hope you guys will continue to tune in and catch the updates that I'm going to film, because I'm going to bring you along. You better believe I'm going to bring you along for everything, and good or bad, and we'll just kind of see together what happens. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. We'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.